A warm welcome to all of you. We are delighted to be back with our AI webinar series led by experts from Cisco. This initiative, which we began last year, is designed to engage students and help them dive deep into the fascinating world of artificial intelligence. Encouraged by the overwhelming participation, today we bring you an insightful session, Building Smarter AI and the Role of Future AI Skills. This session is proudly brought to you by Incubator, a CSR initiative by Cisco in partnership with NASCOM Foundation, aimed at equipping students with the resources to succeed in technology and entrepreneurship. In today's session, we will focus on smarter AI, how it can help address real-world challenges more effectively, and why future jobs will demand people who understand AI. Now, it's my pleasure to introduce our distinguished speakers for today. Mr. Imran Razack, Leader, Customer Delivery at Cisco. With over 18 years of experience in technical support, professional services, and network security, Imran has successfully led global teams delivering innovative solutions and operational excellence. Welcome, Imran. Joining us for the very first time is Mr. Naveen Sampath, Customer Delivery Engineering Technical Leader at Cisco, a seasoned network troubleshooter and strategist. Naveen brings 20 years of experience of global IT experience. Welcome, Naveen. I would also like to introduce another guest present with us today, Mr. Tarun Anthony, Community Relations Manager at Cisco. Welcome, Tarun. Without further ado, I would like to hand it over to our esteemed speakers. Over to you, Imran.
Thank you so very much, Arundhati, and welcome everyone. I think this is the third session in the series of the incubator sessions that we've been doing. We started with basics of linear regression and a little bit of AI introduction, machine learning introduction. And then we took it forward in terms of how these models work. We spoke about LLMs, we spoke about transformers. Today, we are going to talk about how is agentic AI shaping the world, right? Very specifically, we're going to talk about MCP. We're going to talk about MCP server, MCP agents, how they interact with each other and things like that. So one of the experts in our team is Naveen. He's built some of these servers for us. So you're going to listen to him first-hand information in terms of how these MCPs are built, what they mean, how you can use in the agentic AI world and things like that, right? With that, Naveen, you want to share your screen and take us forward?
Yeah, thanks, Imran. So I'll be sharing the screen. First, I'd like to thank the Incubator team and the NASCOM teams for giving me this opportunity, and of course, Imran for getting me to talk about this model context protocol. So basically, to get started, we first need to figure out, right? Like, we need to know how we've come here, right? So,
and
this, yeah.
Sorry, Naveen, to interrupt, right? Just a quick trivia question. How many of you, just raise of hand or put it in the chat, how many of you have heard this term MCP? Any raise of hands, anyone in the chat? All right, I see Siddhartha, Raghav, right, few of you have heard about it, which is good. Siddhartha, you mind, or Shivam, Yashvi, just unmute yourself and just tell what is your understanding about MCP, and then Naveen, sorry to interrupt your flow. Yeah.
No problem.
Maybe one of you want to unmute and just say what is your understanding about MCP, and then we'll go from there. You can also put it in the chat if you want, if you're not comfortable talking. Yeah, we'll give it another minute. If not, we'll proceed. But good to see quite a few people have like Shibam, Yashvi, many others. Yeah, Raghav, you wanna say? All right, cool. Let's proceed, Naveen. Sorry about that.
Yeah, I would like to say about what MCP based on my understanding is.
Sure.
So it is like an open sourced architecture which is used to integrate LLMs, like the reasoning brains behind with tools and the other things which it needs to like provide a really comprehensible results with reasoning and everything enabled.
Okay. Yeah, it's, I mean, yeah, it's something like that, but yeah, you'll probably get to know more about that as part of this session. So you guys have heard about LLMs, right? So I think it was part of the this AI series earlier. So what we can do with the LLMs, just with the LLM, is pretty much nothing. We cannot do anything with the just with the LLM, right? So if you give some text, maybe it generates some another set of text which will be a response to whatever you asked, right? These are good. If you want to draft an email, you can say, okay, this is what my topic is, and if you say I want to send an email in a polished way for a particular customer or anybody else, right? The LLM will kind of help you to give a structure and write it in that polished way, professional way, and give it back to you.
हो गई है
That
हो
is all.
गई
So that is all.
हो गई रिकॉर्डिंग चल रही है इसमें तो
Okay. Devansh, I think you need to mute yourself. Yeah. So basically, that is what an LLM can do, right? But think of like, let's say you want to say the LLM, please send that email also on my behalf, right? So the LLM may not be able to do that, right? So this is one challenge. So to actually get get some work done, right? These are the factors that are important, and that is what we will look at, right? Now, with the LLMs, we kind of came with some kind of chat bots and all of those stuff, right? So where we like, again, if you ask something more specific, right? Like you buy so many things on Amazon, Flipkart, and all these things, right? So if you leave a review, if Amazon, Flipkart want to know, whether this review was positive or negative, you can give it to an LLM, and it can just tell, okay, it is a positive or a negative, right? So this is something that was kind of the next step when we were working with the LLMs. But again, here also you fed some text and you got some text, right? Then you still had to do a lot of work in the background to ensure that text is used in a right way. Then we went a step ahead, right? For example, you bought an item from Amazon or Flipkart and you want to return it, right? So the LLM, of course, doesn't know how to return it. So you wrote some business logic with the help of a document or RAG database or anything of that sort. Now, with that, now the chatbot, with the help of the LLM, could now tell, okay, this is the way for you to return. You need to leave the labels or whatever. You need to follow those guidelines and then send it back for the return through the app, etc. Right? So again, here also, if you see, the output was pretty much text. It could not do the job for you, right? Then let's say you built a tool also in the background. And with the help of that tool, it can help you automate or as an agent, right? It'll automate the particular task of returning the whatever order you had placed, right? So here we started to take some actions, right? So this was all good, but it was very tightly coupled. When you say tightly coupled, if I wrote this agent for, let's say, a Flipkart order or something, it could work only there with that particular integration. If Amazon had to do it, then you have to do this whole process again, right? So it is kind of very tightly coupled. So that is why that use was of not much for us, right? So basically, through all this, right? Initially, if you see the first slide, we just gave text. When we gave text, it just gave text output. Then we gave a little bit of context saying that this is my review. Now, how is this review, right? So you gave some more information, right? Then after that, we gave some document on, how to do a return of a particular, product that you purchased, right? So, and then we actually integrated it with a tool which could do the return for you. So basically, the context that we gave for the LLM, right, improved, right, slowly. Now, the model was able to perform better in with more of this context, right? So in today's world, the LLMs, when we are doing a chat, if we are making use of Chat GPT or anything with or Cloud Desktop or any such tools, right? We are only giving text, and it is very cumbersome to get those text back and then process it and all of that stuff, right? But if you give it more context, the responses that you are going to get is going to be more appropriate to what you are actually looking for. So giving that context is very important. That is where our MCP comes in. This is another example, right? Like you have most of us, working in the industries or students or teachers, all of them have some kind of a to-do list, right? So there's a app called Todoist, right, where you kind of take notes on what is the task that you have to do. It can manage your tasks. If it is completed, it can move to completion and all of that stuff. Again, maintaining that is also a challenge, right? So there was a user called Cal who started making use of Claude AI because AI came in, right? And with that, he was able to like what he wanted to do was like from the same Claude AI app, he wanted to check if he can manage his to-do list, right? But that was not possible. So he reached out to the Anthropic, who are the builders of Claude AI, and the Todoist app folks to say that okay, this is the challenge, and if we can have some kind of integration, right? Then the Todoist already has some kind of APIs that they have already built, which could be used as was that response. And then end of the day, Anthropic, who made Claude AI, right? They got more of such requests, and so eventually, they built an integration with this Todoist app, right? Now, at this point in time, let's say if the user, right, he doesn't want Claude AI, he's moved to, let's say, a Cursor or something, right? Now, he's now so used to making use of this to-do app, using that to-do app, he wants that integration into Cursor as well, right? Now, to get that integration into Cursor, it is again a problem because he has to do the same cycle, repeat the same cycle of reaching out to the Cursor developers and the Todoist app folks so that that integration is done. So this is the problem with the normal tools. This is what I meant when I said that the tools that were developed behind the LLM were very tightly coupled. So any small change, you need to keep working on fixing those problems. Okay, so this is where we are. So we have different model providers, right? Gemini, ChatGPT, etc. Right? And similarly, we have user applications like Cursor, Windsurf, Codename Goose, many stuff like that, right? And in our day-to-day work, we also interact with multiple, data sources like Google Drive, Salesforce, Jira, if we are into, it's some kind of development or some working on some ticketing systems and all of that stuff. Then SharePoint, so many stuff, right? Slack for any chats and things like that. So how to integrate all of them together in a much easier fashion was the challenge. And in today's date, most of the companies who are working on the AI development, right, more than working on the core of AI, they are spending time on these integrations. Like for each different tool that they have, when they have to work on integration, it's a time consuming thing. So this problem is could be addressed. Now you would have seen the web services architecture, right? So something like this: you have a client which is a browser, and then you have a backend which is a server, and through the server you can reach out to the different kinds of services. Now for the server to talk to the different services, and for the client to talk to the server, we make use of the REST APIs. So this was more like a standard, right? That helped multiple, which help all these service providers, right? All the web services to be accessed through different development cycles for across different tools. For example, let's say an aircraft, right? Like for if we have to book an flight, let's say in Emirates, we had to go to Emirates and do the booking. Now we had something like Make My Trip, right? So Make My Trip is now able to make use of the web service provided by Emirates to get the flight details, source, starting point and ending point, time and date, right? Based on this, we are able to retrieve through the APIs. So this standard of the REST APIs, right? It solved the problem of to some extent, in not in AI, but for a regular client server kind of a model, right? So this is one thing I wanted to talk about, these standards, right? Now we look at how the standards were brought into LLMs, where we can feed data to the LLMs, and the LLM, is able to understand that through various different sources. Now, we already saw the LLM by itself is not able to do much, right? You input text, it just gives you a text output. Then we had LLMs integrated with tools. Okay, these are tools. Okay, so here, so the LLMs were integrated with the tools. Now the tools had that tight kind of coupling. So when you move from one LLM to another, or one client, which is like the chat interface that you have to another, um, you still had to do a lot of rework. But now with MCP, it has defined some kind of, it's a model context protocol. What it does is it provides a standard way of communicating with the LLMs, right? So when it provides that standard way of communicating with the LLMs, and if you are developing any tool or service, right, and if it adheres to the MCP standards, then automatically people, people could make use of your MCP server to access these services without much of integration problems, right? So this is where that lack of standards that was there interacting with the LLMs, right, was brought in by this model context protocol, open source initiative that they have from Anthropic. And they started developing this MCP to solve this very problem of integration within their organization, right? So this is the actual definition for the model context protocol. It's open source, right, and it enables seamless integration between AI apps and agents. And also you have multiple tools and multiple data sources, right? So it ensures that this integration across all of these is pretty seamless, right? So something that we already spoke about, the REST APIs, right? So they standardized how applications interact with the services, right? So we had web servers, we had databases, and any third-party services could be accessed through the REST API. So in the example that I gave, right, like booking a flight, right, Make My Trip or any other platform like that, right, could access the REST API. I mean, through REST APIs, they could access all the different vendors, meaning the Emirates or any other airlines, right? So they could get the flight details for booking, right? So there are multiple things that happen, right? First is just fetch the flight details and then go with the booking. And once the booking is done, we need to have the confirmation codes and all of that stuff, right? So for all of these REST APIs were there. Similarly, for the LSPs, which is language specific protocols, our IDEs work on that. Okay, so where some of the functions that were provided was on code navigation or code analysis and some code intelligence, basically that prompts to give you the for completion and all of that stuff, right? So it was done on the LSP side. But what does MCP provide, right? So if we want to standardize how our AI application talks to outside sources, right? Then the primary things that we need to focus on is the prompts, because prompts is one of the very basic things that we use in AI, right? Then we spoke about the tools. In one of the examples I quoted earlier, where uh, I was talking about through ChatGPT. If I say, okay, draft an email, it drafts it well, but it cannot send, right? So for such things, I can create a tool where I can, the tool will be able to send the email on my behalf, right? And then we have the resources, which could be the knowledge documents that we've had, right? Or databases or anything of that sort, right? Or even the API calls, right? So all of these could be resources. So these are the functionalities that MCP provides us through this open source MCP protocol. Now, with the standardized way, any MCP client, right? Now, whether it is Claude, Cursor, Goose Windsurf, or your own client, is now seamlessly able to talk to a database MCP server, which is in the backend connected to the databases, or any CRM devices like CRM systems, right? Which is used to create or update contacts or things like that, right? And even a small thing like a Todoist server also. So this was could get standardized without much effort, and um, it kind of saved a lot of time with respect to integration. Plus, uh, the user of the client, right? Like, let's say if I'm using ChatGPT or anything, I could ensure that I get a rich experience, good experience, right? So if I'm planning a vacation, right? If I just say plan my vacation, right? So we know about agents. Agents can not only like when we had the internet, we could connect to different computers or systems across the world, right? But if you had to book a vacation, you had to do everything by yourself, right? Now, with the advent of agents, it was like, okay, if you just say, okay, plan a vacation for me in the first week of October, and this is my budget, and this is the destination that I'm looking at, the agents is able to also act on the instruction that you have given, right? So it was able to go and book your tickets, check your calendar, put your out of office if you're working, and then make the payment, and finally give you everything saying, okay, this is your itinerary. You can take a cab from your home to the airport, from the airport travel to another place, and there's a cab, and this is the hotel, whatever. End to end, it was able to do to achieve such things, right? MCP kind of plays an important role, because you can have all of these things, right? Like booking a cab could be a tool, booking a hotel can be a tool, then booking some kind of events in the destination place could be a tool, right? All of these tools can just get integrated into one single MCP server, saying, okay, a travel buddy or travel server or something like that. Right? So just revisiting, now that we know what is an MCP, if you just look at that same problem that we had without MCP, right? Now the person Cal is able to make use of the Claude AI or Cursor or anything. Claude AI or any client to make use of the Todoist thing, because now the Todoist is a server, is an MCP server. So Todoist, when they were doing their application development, ensured that this MCP server is created. Now with this, integration to any kind of client was becoming much more easier. Okay, so with this, now there are two companies here. Anthropic is now able to focus on Claude AI itself and have more and more features to that. And the Todoist made this MCP server, which meant integrations across all kinds of clients is much more easier, and their tool is getting used more also. Now it's because that integration is easier, right? So it's a win-win for both of them, right? Yeah. So what I wanted to show in this particular slide is, with this kind of standardization done for this AI, right? Everyone had their own advantages, right? For the enterprises, right? There was a clear separation of the AI part of the team and the product teams, right? So if we could see that, Todoist was a product team. They concentrate on building the product, and the same thing with the AI team, which is the Cloud AI. They are concentrating on the creating more and more rich features for the AI part, right? And they didn't have to bother about the integration, but just by making it MCP compatible, right? Then for the end users like us, right? So if we are making use of Cloud AI, I can just, if I need some kind of functionality, I can just add that MCP server as part of my settings, and it's available to me. I don't have to break my head. So I don't have to reinvent the wheel again and again, right? Now, for the API developers, somebody who build APIs, right? Once they make this, they can just build it once and it could be used across. So previously also API developers used to build their APIs, but again, for example, if you just take the flight booking system itself, right? Although they were making use of APIs, let's say, as a user, when I'm booking something on Emirates, it'll expect me, if I am looking for a flight from here to Dubai, let's say Bangalore to Dubai, it'll return, so source and destination. Source would be Bangalore, destination would be Dubai, and time is the another factor, right? So it would give me this as an output. Me as a somebody who's making use of this REST API now understand that the response that I'm getting, right, I'll be getting it as source and destination. But let's say another airline, right? Let's say Indigo, right? Indigo might be giving it as start and end instead of source and destination, right? Now I need to take care of all of that logics in my stuff, right? So this headache is also solved for the API developers if we make use. If they're making that APIs development also as MCP compatible, right? Then if you look at the developers, again, if I need a particular functionality, it might already be there, right? So if there's something open source that is already available, I can just add it as a part of my development. I can just connect to that server and make use of that. So this is how standardizing has through MCP has helped people across the different spectrum of their users, right? Enterprises, end users, API developers, everybody, right? Now, already, right? There's a lot of clients already available. So let me quickly open this link for you. Okay. So this is the official page of this model context protocol, where you have stuff about me, where you have documentation about MCP, how to use it, its architecture, etc. Right, and they also have different types of SDK. Like some folks might be Python developers.
I think we are not able to see the slide. I think
Okay, just a second. You can see? No?
Yeah, now it's okay. Yes.
Yeah. So I'll share these links anyways, right? So this is a documentation page, landing page for Model Context Protocol. It has documentation, what is MCP, everything, right? Everything about it, its architecture, everything. What I wanted to show to you was, as developers, right? There are various SDKs available which can make things easier for you, right? So if you're a Python programmer, you could make use of the Python SDK or Go programming, right? So you have different SDKs. You could make use of that to build your own MCP servers. Now, I was talking about the clients, right? So already there are a lot of clients that are MCP compatible, right? Now there are different features that we have, like resources, prompts, right, tools, and if there is a new MCP server now, can that get discovered and all of that sampling? We'll look at the sampling, elicitation, and things like that little later in the thing. But what I'm trying to tell is, these are ChatGPT, for example, right? It is compatible with tools, so I can integrate tools server to this, right? So similarly, Cloud AI is can help with integration for resources. It can have prompts, and it can also have tools, right? So basically, there are many clients already that are available. So this is the feature support matrix, which could keep changing slowly with development. These clients could get updated with different features also. So take a look at that. I've provided the link here as well. So when you pick a MCP client, right? So first thing is, you have so many options, right? You are going to pick one of them suitable for your development. Now, when you pick something, that client itself might already have X number of features, right? So be aware of those features, right? And not every client has implemented all the features, available. I mean, they don't have all the features available. So this matrix, right, is going to help you to know, okay, what kind of features it can give, so that you can choose your MCP client wisely, right? And also, if there are new features coming up, anything of that sort is going to be available to you on this particular page. Okay. Like the clients, we also have a lot of MCP servers also available for integration, right? There are multiple things that are already available, and those are also available on this particular page, this particular link. So these are the different MCP servers that are already available for use. Okay. Now, if you look at the, let's go into the architecture part of this MCP, right? So we learned about the clients and we learned about the servers. Again, we didn't go into doing each of them. I will just introduce two different types of clients that are already available for you so that you get your hands dirty and then try to look for doing your own things, right? So, uh, so in the architecture, the client and server we saw, but there are, and also we saw the different things like the resources, tools, and the prompts, right? Now, for this architecture to work, first thing is this MCP is an open protocol, and it kind of standardizes how our applications that we are going to develop is going to provide the context that we initially saw as part of the session, right? The how we are going to provide context to these LLMs. So that is what this provides. And like our USB-C ports, right? This is something that can connect multiple tools or different types of data sources or even different MCP servers together, right? And enables the seamless integration like we discussed earlier. And when we are building different agents, right, we can build, complex workflows, making use of these LLMs and the tools and the data sources that we are having, right? And uh, this architecture, kind of helps the AI models to seamlessly work across all these different kinds of resources that it is available. End of the day, it kind of bridges the gap between the AI models and the real world scenarios. So, I like ChatGPT, like I told, if I want to, um, if I want to send an email, it doesn't, right? But I can bridge that gap by integrating a tool to it, which can send that email to me, send that email on my behalf, right? So that is how this helps. And again, let's look at what the client does, what the server does, and what these tools, resources, and prompt does, right? The MCP clients that we have, or you can build your own by looking at the documentation from the MCP page that I told, it'll invoke the tools, meaning it'll call the tools, right? And it can query for resources through some drag databases or APIs or even some files, right? And then generally we give prompts, and prompts is a topic by itself, right? So we can have very simple prompts like, generate an email for me on this particular topic, right? So that can be a very simple thing. But then you can make this prompt even more stronger, saying that, hey, I am Naveen, and I am in customer support. I am trying to write an email to my customer on an issue, right? So now, and this is the problem that we are trying to solve, and this is the analysis that I have done. If I have to do something like this, my prompt has become more complex, right? So we can also have choose between prompts, like we choose tools, right? We could may ensure that we choose between prompts also, right? So all of that part is taken care from the MCP client, where the user has the interface with the MCP client, right? Now, what does the server do? The server, it exposes the different tools that are available for your use, right? It exposes the different resources that is available for your use, right? There could be different prompts that could be part of your tool itself. It can it can expose all of those different prompts for you, right? So this is what the client and server do, and the tools by itself, they are again controlled with by the model, by the LLM, right? Because we have now given the context, right, from saying that okay, these are the tools that are available, and which can retrieve or search or send a message or update a database or anything of that sort, right? And if it is a resource, it can expose data from files, database, or APIs, and all of this is controlled by the application, right? Model you cannot I mean, the tools is controlled by the model, the resource is controlled by the application, and the prompts is what you give, right? So it is controlled by the user, and there could be predefined templates for interaction. It could be document Q&A, and the outputs could be in text or in JSON or things like that, right? So your prompts will control that part. So these are the basic or core elements of MCP.
So I have a
Uh,
question.
yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah. So here, so we have similar or related applications. We are integrating into one MCP servers, and using the AI prompts, we are connecting them using REST APIs, right? So any other protocol separately we are using it, or
Correct. So we are not making use of APIs. We'll come to the transport a little later. Okay, that's part of the session. So we don't make use of the APIs directly, right? So the APIs could be part of the MCP server. Like I told about that problem, right? Two different airlines, the way they give the source and destination is different. One could be giving it as a source and destination, and the other side could be giving it as start and end, right? So your application which is making use of these APIs um, uh, will need that change according to the website you're trying to reach, right? So but if it is an MCP server, this thing is taken care. And so far we just saw, okay, client and server talk to each other. How they talk to each other is something that is going to come up in finish. So yeah, okay. So this is the same thing in a different way. So the client, interpolates prompts, queries resources, and invokes tools, and the server kind of exposes the prompts, resources, and tools, right? And these are the core elements. And from the core elements, you have access to the tools which can do a bunch of functions, resources also, and prompts also. Okay. Just with the to-do AI itself, I mean, the Todoist MCP server, right? So this code is available on Git, which you can look at the code if you want to, right? So from the prompts, if I want to say like, hey, what is on my to-do list for today, right? So that's a prompt, right? And then that makes use of the uh, to do I mean, basically resource, right? It opens that application, right? So where you have all the list of things, right? And then the tool would make use of the tasks, right? That is, I mean, other API tasks that are available, um, to create a or fetch the list of the to-do list from your account, right? So, so the server here makes all these things very simple. Even if your client changes or anything, the integration gets easier. Okay. Now, whenever you design your MCP server, right, you want it to be useful, right? And you don't want to keep reworking on that, right? So we already saw the API challenges, right? So the output that you get is generally a complex JSON response, right? And even the parameter names could be confusing, like I told, start and end or source and destination, right? So they could be confusing. But with making use of MCP, right? Since we have a standard way of talking between the client and server and the server and the tools, these LLMs, the APIs becomes more friendly, and data handling also becomes very simple. So the LLM is able to understand start and end means source and destination, so it can make that connect, right? So that's how. And for your there are some certain other things also, right, that you have to take into consideration when you build tools, like try to have short and specific names for your server, right? So Todoist server is, it can understand it is for the Todoist app, right? So it's very concise, right? um, and have detailed description of the tool defined in the server, so that way the server is able to understand your tool better, right? It knows exact functionality of your tool, right? And some parameter optimization, which is basically like when we send things from API, right? We tend to send a lot of unwanted parameters also sometimes, which is of no use for the LLM. So such things should be, there is no need for us to pass, right? And the responses that we get, if it is very complex or anything, uh, it doesn't make much sense for a user, right? Like, who doesn't know JSON, right? So if the responses are readable, then you have the possibility of more people trying to make use of your MCP server that you built is easier. And API calls, I have seen people writing MCP servers with one tool for each API call. So that is not needed. You can write one tool for all these API calls for a particular thing, right? So these are certain design considerations for your tools. And coming to the question that Binesh asked, right? So how does communication happen in MCP, right? So there is client server interaction, there's data transmission, there's sending and receiving of messages, and we have data being sent out in different formats, right? Um, so we have to take care of all these kind of communication, right? So as of now, the MCP communication methods, so they have transport layers, which is STDIO based, right? And WebSockets, HTTP or REST. Okay. So, or REST, and you can also have some custom transports also defined. Now, when to use STDIO, right? So it is used for some lightweight kind of communication, not like big data transfers and those kind of stuff, right? And good in development kind of tools, right? So that is when you make use of STDIO. Again, it totally depends on your particular use case, right? Now, WebSockets, if you want to have bidirectional communication with with less delays, right? And also something that is more interactive, right? So in such cases, you make use of the WebSockets, right? And if you're looking at compatibility wise, like it should be accessible for it should be compatible with various kind of chats, or clients, or the tools, the applications that you're trying to do, then HTTP is a better way, right? In some cases, you could have some custom communication, and this could be something specific to domains. Let's say even for something with the packet core networks that I work into, right? So there we make use of REST APIs for internal communication, but external communication we make use of different protocols. So does it answer, Binesh? Sorry.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Now, authentication is also an important part, right? As part of our MCP servers, we should ensure that authentication is also taken care, right? Now, there are different types of authentication, right? So one is like there are public documents, you don't need authentication for that, right? So some search tools, for example, if you're doing Google search or whatever, right? You don't need actual authentication as such for that, right? Then you have something called as OAuth for remote servers, right? You can make use of the OAuth, which could be your authentication method. And you also have this API key or bearer tokens that are provided for the clients, and you could access the remote MCP server. These are the different ways. There's a call flow here, which is self-explanatory. So I think you could take a look at this little later. Yeah. So there are some advanced concepts like sampling, right? So like when you're booking a flight or things like that, right? So we want the our tool to pause for a moment. For example, when you're booking a flight, just before booking or finalizing everything, you want to get a consent or get additional details, right? Or take care of you want certain amount of control in such cases, right? So those kind of features could be done if your client has this sampling feature allowed. Okay. And then composability is another feature. So here, one, a client can act as a server also, or a server can act as a client also. So this happens when you have multiple MCP servers. Like you can have two servers talking to each other. So one would become a client, and the other is the server, and things like that. And end of the day, you combine with the combination of all these MCP servers together, you are providing context to the LLM, right? So this feature is called composability. Okay. And this is an interesting thing, right? Like we are all creating so many MCP servers, right? Now, what if all of these MCP servers are registered in one place, so that I can access this registry and understand, okay, these are the different MCP servers that are available, and make my application or tool more autonomous, right? It can directly understand, okay, whenever there's a new MCP server created, it comes and registers to this particular registry, right? And in one place you get to know all the different MCP servers that are available. Your verification can be done at a single place, right? So that is what this MCP registries could do. It is something that will come up in the future, right? So this will help with all the discovery features and centralization and all that stuff. So when you have these kind of features, right, the future pattern would look something like this, right? Agents are able to see, when you started off, you might have had few tools only, right? But you could have more tools that the agents could get exposed to, and the agents can explore the tools by itself, right? And choose the best among the tools, best or the most appropriate tools available. And the agents also can adapt by themselves and improve, right? So this is how we are looking at how MCP can come up in the future, right? So at the end, right, since we are coming close to the end of our session, what I want to say is that MCP is just about late 2024, October, November timeframe is when this just came out, right? It is pretty new, but it has there's a big ecosystem that is already getting built, right? Just by making it open source, there are a lot of folks contributing, and people see very good use of this, right? So that ecosystem is growing fast, be it AI applications, which we saw, right, or even IDEs, right? You would have heard of the GitHub Copilot, where you have an agent sitting and is able to help you out while coding, right? So with all of these things, it is able to help enterprises or even the open source community, right? It is able to help. So this whole ecosystem is thriving. So uh, today, this is kind of known as the standard of communicating between agents or things like that, right? Now, um, until there's no something, there's nothing that can rival in the MCP at this point in time. But whatever it is, if something comes up in future to rival MCP also, knowing how MCP works is going to be a big advantage. It's going to be a big advantage for you because you will understand that portions much better, right? So yeah, so this is pretty much what I wanted to share as part of this MCP sessions. So if you have any questions, I can take them. Or if you want to put that in chat also, I can respond. Okay, so your Siddhartha is asking how do I approach building one? So first thing is you don't so to start off, right, before you start, like I mentioned in the session itself, uh, pick a client that is available, I mean, that you could make use of. Look at the features that it is providing, and then look at the tools that you want to integrate, right? Maybe I'll just quickly show you something. Okay, so you can see my Claude AI. One second. Okay, so okay, so this is my Claude AI, right? So if I am somebody who is not good at keeping my desktop clean or keeping my files clean, right? So I just went about and looked at something called called as this file system MCP server. So what does this help me to do? Read multiple files, write a file or edit file, list, create directory, move it, search files, all of this stuff, right? So as of now, I have this enabled, right? Now I can just say create a directory and create this session in a file, right? So if I do this, right, I mean, I'm not given enough context, but what I'm saying is like, okay, create a directory and create a document of this session, a summary of this session in a file, right? If I give this, right now I've not given permission for it to access my file system as of now, but if I do this, it'll be able to create a directory for me. So you can see it reached out the MCP server for this file system. It is finding out the list of directories and create how to create the directory, right? And then something like that, right? So as of now, I don't have I've not given permission to write here. Yeah, so it says the file system is not set up yet. But what I'm saying is, with a small prompt, right, I was able to get my work done. Otherwise, I should have created I should have created a directory, then a file within that. Then I should have typed down, what is the summary of this session, right? All this I can do with the thing. So if you have to create your own thing, I would suggest take a look at some of these MCP servers that are already available, right? And then your idea, if it needs prompts or tools or resources, right? Build a server and integrate it with some of these existing clients, or you can build your own clients to get your architecture going. Okay, that is one example, and I have another example which is like for the Todoist itself, where I can create task, update, or thing all through this Claude AI, right? So that's how this MCP server works. And I didn't have to break a sweat for this. I just went into the settings. Okay. So I have something called as developer here. And in the config here, okay, I just put, this is the MCP server. Okay. And I just have to put my API token here, which I didn't, because I didn't want to put it here while sharing this my screen. So if I just put my token here, my MCP server is now integrated already, and you can already see it is running, right? This file system is running, and this Todoist MCP server is also running, and I'm able to access it without doing much. I'm able to manage my file system, plus I'm able to keep a track of all the tasks that I have. Does it help? Any questions?
Cool. I think just in the interest of time, there's a question related to agentic and MCP. Maybe we'll take that offline. Arundhati and Tarun, we have time, or are we good to wrap it up?
Imran, we can continue if you both have time. Arundhati, is there a deadline to this? I think we
No, students
originally
are
blocked
still
it
there,
for.
and I don't see students dropping out. So yeah, we very much continue.
Okay, so
Mhm.
Naveen, maybe you want to field that question.
Yeah.
What is the difference between agentic and MCP?
Mhm.
And then also, how do you make use of MCP clients? An example of integration,
Yeah.
which I think we
So
covered.
the integration I just showed you, right? This is how I make use of, something that is already available, right? Some MCP servers. I just had to go edit and put this particular configuration saying that, okay, this is an MCP server. This is the name of the server, right? And these are generally going to be the commands that will, bring up your, which will run the command for you. That is pretty much this is how you can integrate into Cloud AI. But if there are other things, there are your own ways of doing it. They might have a different way of doing it. Now coming to agentic versus MCP, that is a good question, because this is a question that even I also had when I was learning about MCP, right? So what is an agent, right? So agent is something that can think, it can sense its surrounding, and also act, right? So like I told, we do have internet, which was a revolution, right? It connected multiple computers together, right? I was able to connect to a particular server, try to book a vacation flight or whatever, right? But everything I had to do by myself. I had to act myself, right? Physically, right? And thinking also is from my end itself, right? Now, when it came to agents, right? Just imagine, like, okay, now you're creating an agent, which is an application, and it is like, okay, giving mind to the internet, right? So the internet now can think and also act on your behalf, right? So that was an agent. Now, through this MCP, the building of agents, you can concentrate on particular things, but there are certain subtasks, right? Like, you can build an agent for booking agent, right? Or let's say even the GitHub Copilot agent, right? Now, if when you look at the GitHub Copilot agent, what does it do? It has something like, if you select a piece of code and say explain, right? It explains to you. That is generative AI, right? So that might need some prompts, correct? So you will just probably, I mean, that might need some prompts, and that output should be presented to you well, right? So that prompts, I mean, there are multiple different prompts that could be, built, right? So you can have an MCP server for that prompts. Again, MCP server and agent, MCP servers are used to, make that agentic development much easier. There are different types of agents, right? Some things are workflow agents, right? You can very well make use of this MCP servers to ensure that you have a agentic workflow created, right?
So in our travel example, suppose if you are saying, please plan my 5 days in Goa, so they automatically book the flight, they book the hotels and itinerary according to that 5 days, right? So that's it.
Not only that, right? So now if you had tools, let's say, if I had to book, right, I also need to set out of office for my company,
Okay.
right? It'll automatically go sets that out of office. Plus, I need to get my leaves approved. So it'll submit my application form for, my leaves and try
So
to
if
get that approved.
leave is not approved, then it won't go further, right?
Yeah, that is your, yeah. Yeah, so that
Okay.
is where, so if, like I told, we had something called a sampling feature, right? There are certain things where you can wait. You want control of, how the application behaves. So that time you make use of the sampling concept. If it is like just plain kind of stuff, you don't need any, okay, if I assume I already spoken and my manager has approved my leaves and my application, I know it is going to go through. In such cases, I don't want the sampling feature to be part of it. So I can let my agent, go and do everything for me.
Okay, but again, this we need to pre-configure something, right? So we need to avoid some places or tickets are not available. So that preferences.
So yeah, so
Priority.
those are things like it totally depends on how you are building your agent, right? So your agent, you can tell, okay, if the tickets are not available, can you suggest a different date when it is available? Because the agent can have sub-agents also, which will look for flights. If it is not available, then call another agent, which can go check for next available dates, right? All of that stuff, and you
So we
can.
can customize our agents ourselves.
Yeah,
Okay.
that is totally on how you are going to make your agent work, right? Like that's the characteristics of your agent. But what I'm saying is when you have booking is very simple. That is, so your agent is the business logic that you're writing, right? Part of the agent is the business logic that you're doing. But there are so many small tasks like just booking, right? You don't have to write code for that. Make use of the MCP server. That will do the job for you and give you a response. So like that, right? So agents and MCP go hand in hand. It MCP servers help make the agentic development, more fun and easy.
Okay. How to do part MCP server will do. Okay.
Yeah. So I think that was that slide, right? So I told you, client just invokes tools, server exposes the tools, right? I think we have some more questions.
Maybe I'll take that. It's off topic, Siddhartha, and I think the 3 sessions that we did, this question repeatedly comes, right? For those who have not read the question is basically, will AI take away jobs? And as a student, what should be a learning map, right? Trust me, AI won't take your job. Rather, it is going to enhance your jobs. Like example, me and Naveen, we used to do a lot of administrative overhead stuff till like today. But now with AI, most of that is being taken care, so that we can do cutting edge, bleeding edge kind of a stuff. So rest assured, your jobs will not be taken away by AI. Rather, it's going to enhance your job portfolio, right? Your way of working and things like that. And from a student perspective, I think uh, there are 2 streams, right? One is you can be more like an AI user. You can use these applications and use them, do prompt engineering, and be efficient in your day-to-day work. Be a subject matter expert on something and use AI to be your personal assistant, right? That's one stream of thought process that needs a different way of learning. You need to learn how to do prompt engineering and things like that, right? The other thing is, if you really want to be more like a AI architect, you want to be an AI developer, you want to be an AI person, right? Then you need to know how these LLMs work. What's the math behind it? You need to know a lot of nuts and bolts of these workings, right? So really, it won't help if you just know how an MCP server interacts with another with an agent, right? You also need to know what's the underlying protocol, what's the underlying math around it, maybe a little bit of information on deep neural networks, reinforcement learning. Those kind of concepts will also help, right? So long story short, just go do a Google or go ask ChatGPT or Gemini, right? For you to get a curriculum or roadmap, it will beautifully give you. If you just follow that, I think that should be more than enough. Long story short, it's not going to take your job. All right, there's a question from Mangal. Does the MCP also provide standardization for guardrails, sandboxing, and AI safety? What way it does, and if not, what's the standardized way? This is a good question. Recently, when me, Naveen, and few of us went for a hackathon, that was one of the recommendations that one of our mentors shared, right? We didn't have guardrails. Like example, you build a MCP server and it is doing a workflow, for example, right? How do you ensure that it's not giving wrong recommendation or it's not giving you a wrong workflow? So guardrails is something that you need to take care of. Naveen, you want to answer if there's any standardization right now in MCP for it?
This is a topic of discussion even with Anthropic. Okay, so they are looking at because this suddenly got so popular, right? There are methods of having guardrails at different phases of your thing, right? Like with your prompts, ensuring, for example, we don't want some something that is very graphic to show to a child, right? So you can have guardrails across different places. The best place is to have these guardrails at the user input level itself, right? So I mean that can be done, and from the MCP server also. MCP server is only giving you exposing the tools and all of that stuff. So you can have your own guardrails as part of those tools or resources, and security as part of them. And we also spoke about the authentication part, right? So that kind of takes care of some amount of security. For sandboxing, I mean, I'm assuming that you want to build your own things on your laptop or something. That is possible already.
Hi, may I add to it?
Mhm. Yeah, please.
Sandboxing, I meant when the agents are trying to create a code and try to execute that code. That code is dangerous, potentially dangerous, cannot be executed on the system directly, which we may have a isolated, independent way when we use LLMs to generate a code and execute it in a sandboxed way.
Yeah, so
Just like how ChatGPT does. But when we are using agentic workflows where we are communicating across different LLMs and then LLM output is transmitted through MCP. Now, if there is a code generation and execution of that code, where is that safety and sandboxing of that, and how does that happen in the context of MCP? That is
correct.
what I meant, not from the development part.
Correct. So if you look at MCP, again, right? Whatever you spoke about, it is all part of your application or the user part, right? The client server, the MCP thing is only allowing you to have access to more resources, which is the tools, resources, and prompts that are needed for your agentic development. The agentic behavior or all of these things that you're talking about, right? Like to have guardrails or even the sandboxing and all of that stuff is part of your application, correct? That you're trying to build. So they will all be part of that application mostly. To some amount, you can have the client, the server doesn't have, gives you resources to execute code and all of that stuff. If you take, there is some amount of security built in as part of the LLMs itself. The LLM doesn't execute the code anytime, right? So, but by knowing the code, it can tell when I execute with this type of input, this can be the output. But again, it doesn't execute your code itself, right? So,
To add to that, right? Sorry to interrupt, Naveen, right? Mangal, that's a very good question. In summary, I mean, basically, MCP, you can think of it as a communication protocol that standardizes, communication between your LLMs and external tools, right? Honestly, as of date, I don't think it addresses the safety and security concerns that you are referring to, right? And to what Naveen mentioned, that is more a corporate responsibility or a responsibility of the developer to take care of that, right? And that's why even today, many of these big organizations, we do have human in the loop for critical actions, right? For majority of the sensitive operations and things like that, we don't want things to be get into haywire, right? So we do human in the loop and things like that. So long story short, that doesn't exist today. You, as a developer, you will have to take care of that.
And even the file system example that I showed you, right? It wanted to create a folder in my laptop. I didn't give permission, right? So that is what human in the loop can also do, right? So you can stop it from creating or executing stuff.
All right. With that, I think if you still have questions, you can route it through Arundhati and team. We'll be more than happy to field it later. I think thank you so much. And thanks for people who stayed back another 20 odd minutes. Really appreciate that. With that, Arundhati, over to you.
Yes, thank you so much. Thanks to both Imran and Naveen for leading the session. And thanks to all the